In this video, we're going to be talking about writing and reading productivity resources, especially since you're going to be collecting quite a few articles soon and needing to write about them. Specifically, we're going to talk first about how to locate articles and organizing them using a citation manager. Then we'll talk about APA, some resources you can find regarding that, how to use styles in Word, a really important skill to have. And also I've noticed that sometimes the line between plagiarism and not seems gray, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. All right. So first of all, when you're trying to find articles, never, ever, ever, ever should you have to pay for one. Do not pay for anything. You should be able to get anything that you're needing to find through, I would start with Google Scholar, scholar.google.com. There are advanced search functions that you can use to help narrow things down. If you can't find a PDF readily available there, then the next step would be to go to the Nmsu Library. I found that it is easier to start with Google Scholar. The Nmsu Library, once you log in, you should be able to find access to lots of different things. And if you can't find access there, then the next step is to use what's called Interlibrary Loan. This should also be available through NMSU's website. You can log in, fill in the details of what you're trying to find, and then in my experience, usually within 24 to 48 hours, the library will send you a PDF of that article that you're looking for or book chapter. Please stay away from books for this course. Usually books are not available through PDF through Interlibrary Loan. Sometimes you get lucky. All right, and then if all of that fails, sometimes Google, rather than Google Scholar, sometimes you get lucky there and you can find it, but you get a lot less relevant search results when you do that. All right, so once you've started collecting articles, how do you keep track of them? What some people do is keep track of PDFs of articles in a folder on their computer. Okay. While this might seem like a thing that you might be able to do, what happens when you get 30, 40, 50 PDFs? It becomes really difficult to try and trace through them and figure out which one has what you need, especially since you can only put so many characters in the title or in the file name for those PDFs. It also becomes problematic whenever you've got PDFs in different folders. And then you're trying to copy them into different folders and trying to figure out which folder you save something in. It becomes a mess after a while. Do you put them in the same folder? Do you put them in different folders organized by the course you've taken? Do you organize them by the category of the type of article they are? How do you name them? So this becomes a really big issue. And then if you're annotating on top of those PDFs by highlighting or putting notes in, then do you have a separate backup file that is clean in case you don't want to see those annotations, you want to send it to somebody, share it with someone? Do you only keep hard copies? If you're doing this, please come talk to me because this is a really big issue. You should be storing things digitally. That doesn't mean you can't have a hard copy. Some people like that to read better. Do you have what happens when your hard drive crashes or the files become corrupt? Are you backing things up somewhere? And they need to be backed up in at least 2 places. I have had this happen before where my hard drive has crashed. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have had this experience before. And then also there's the issue of cloud companies doing things that are illegal that you don't know about. So what do you do if the FBI seizes those servers and now you don't have access to those files? It should always be backed up in more than one location. So the other issue is you're writing a paper, you need to create a reference list. Do you have a place where the reference is already written out in APA style? So you can just copy and paste it? Do you recreate it every time? Do you ensure it's correct? And I have a fix for all of these problems. A citation manager stores your references and associated PDFs or documents. It appropriately builds APA formatted references, and your reference list. And then the best citation managers out there don't charge you. There are several that do. There are several that don't. They sync your references, PDFs, and annotations to the cloud, which makes them accessible from multiple devices. They have dedicated add-ons for Microsoft Word and your favorite web browser to allow for not only easy adding to your citation manager list along with those PDFs, as well as an integrated way to add the references to your paper so that your reference list is built for you. It will also keep your reference list of whatever paper you're writing in order, formatted according to whatever system you need so that only things that you cite appear. If you are not using a citation manager, then you have to worry about, oh, did I include something in my reference list that's not actually cited in my paper, or did I cite something in my paper that is not included in the reference list? With a citation manager, you do not have to worry about that. Okay. So, this is Bob. He likes to write in APA style. He doesn't spend hours worrying about his reference list because he uses a citation manager. Please be like Bob, and I will show you one in a moment. Here's a few that exist on the market right now. EndNote, it costs money. It's also a little bit clunky. It might be better now. I haven't used it in 3 or 4 years because of how frustrating it was to use, and the fact that I knew that once I exited my PhD program, I would no longer be able to use it without a yearly subscription fee. Zotero is a free open source application. It does work pretty well. I used it for a while. The problem that I had with it is there's not much space for PDF cloud storage. I think it was like 300 megabytes that gets used up pretty quick when you're talking about PDFs. You can't annotate within the app itself, which means when you open a PDF within the app, it actually opens it in your external program, whatever that is, if it's Adobe or if it's Preview on a Mac. And so any annotations that you make get stored on the PDF itself. So that's what I didn't like. And there are some mobile apps by third party that are decent to use if you choose to go that route. Mendeley is the program that I use, and I have found it to be the most user-friendly. It is also free. It provides 2 gigabytes of free PDF cloud storage. I have nearly 1,000 references in my library on Mendeley, and almost all of them have PDFs attached to them, and I have not hit my 2 gigabyte storage limit yet. So I think that gives you an idea of how much it can handle. You can annotate within the app, and it adds it as what's called a skin. So it's not actually changing your original PDF. So if you open the original PDF, or if you open the PDF outside of Mendeley, you will not see any of your annotations. You won't see your highlights. You won't see your comments. So I really like that. It has group support, so using people's email addresses, I can create a group, we can share the same library, and we can see each other's comments and highlights. And also, it helps when you're writing something together with someone so that you all are having access to the same articles when in your reference list. The mobile app is very good, as well as the desktop application, of course. And I've found that tech support is very helpful and responsive on Twitter. There are others that exist. These are the ones that are the main ones that you might have heard about. And I'm going to specifically talk to you about Mendeley. All right, so let's go to Mendeley. So when you open go to Mendeley's website, just search it in Google, and you will find that all you need is an email address. You can create an account, and once you've done that, you can download the desktop version. There is a browser-based version, but it's not good. When you add articles to Mendeley, the way that they show up is by originally in a table format. So for instance, if I click on this one, let's say, so here you can see on the right side there's this pane that has all the information that will need to appear in a reference. So you have the title, which you need to make sure that it is in sentence case format, which means the only words that are capitalized are proper nouns like names of places or people. The first letter should be capitalized, and also the first letter of a word after a colon should be capitalized. Nothing else should be capitalized. Then here you have the journal, which should be in title case, the year, the volume, the issue, the page range. You can put in an abstract if you want. I really like having tags. You can create your own, which helps you organize things. So if you can't remember the article that you're trying to find, you can filter by the tags that you have. So you'll see on the left side here, filter by my tags. Or you can have author keywords, and there is a way to filter by the author keywords as well. Also, you'll notice that there is a notes tab. So you can see here, I've added some notes, and if I click on that, it will take me to that place in the PDF if I have the PDF open, but I can see these notes without even opening the PDF. There's also a place at the top for manuscript-wide notes that you want to make. And then if I open the PDF, I do have some capabilities of highlighting. So if I go to here, I can see that I can change the color of my highlight. There's only a few different colors you can pick from. You can add a note, and that's about it. There's not a lot of options involved, but it does what you need it to do, and you can see the notes here and quickly go to those places in the article itself. Once you have added these things into Mendeley, you need to install the web importer and the Microsoft Word plugin. The web importer allows you to add articles directly from the browser. So if you're using Google Scholar, you can directly add those articles in. However, usually what I have found is that it misses the volume, issue, and page range. So sometimes you have to add that in manually. A lot of times too, it is pulling the journal article title from the page itself, which may not be formatted correctly. So you may have to fix the words that are capitalized. And another way that you can add articles is by simply dragging and dropping a PDF directly onto the screen, and it will try to extract it from the PDF itself. If the PDF is text searchable and selectable, then it usually does a pretty good job of picking up all these fields on the right side, but you may have to make some adjustments to it. Once it is correct here, then in Word, once you've installed the web importer, or the Word plugin, under References, you will see this button come up that says Insert or Edit Citation. It has a little Mendeley looking symbol on it. And you will see the style here. You can change whatever style you want. We will be using APA 6th edition, although you should know the 7th edition is slotted to be released sometime this fall. All right, so once you are in here, let's say you're writing something and you want to properly cite what you're writing. So let's say you are saying, normally you might write something like this. Fankuch 2006 claimed that students blah blah blah. Okay. Instead of writing it like that, what you need to do is make this part a Mendeley field. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to click this little insert citation button, and this thing shows up. So I'm just going to type in here Fankuch, and I can type in the year to help filter it down. Here we go. So let's say we're going to do this one. And if I click back on the name, so if I click over here, it thinks I'm wanting to search for something else. But if I click inside this name here, I can add a page number. I can add a prefix. This might be something like e.g. comma. A suffix, that's something that goes at the end of the list of sources that you have. And then if you have, where'd it go? I just lost it. Let me get this back, sorry. And then if you've already written the name of the author like I have here, then you can click this button that says suppress author. I'll show you what it does if you don't. So if you don't suppress the author, it puts it in here, and we don't want that. So, and I selected the one with reading, so I'll type in and reading. So since we don't want this to show up because we're putting it into the text like this, which is the way I suggest you do it for most of the time that you're citing things, especially if you're just talking about one study, then you can click inside of this field and click back up here. It says insert or edit. We want to edit the citation. If you click that and then click on the name here, then you can click this suppress author checkbox, click OK, and then the author part is hidden. So let's say you're writing that and then you add in someone else, relatedly, let's say Franklin and colleagues. All right, and let's insert something here. Let me type in Franklin. Let's grab this one. Suppress the author. And then we have that, okay? So once you have some things in here, and you could do it right away actually, but then you want to go to the place where you're going to put your reference list. So let's put in a heading here, references. And I'm ready to insert them. Click on the references tab and click insert bibliography. You can do this at any point, and it will put in the bibliography for you. And if I add something else, and I guess this one should be Bargagliotti and colleagues. And let's say we're going to add something else to this list. All right, so let's add another reference here. That was not a good one. Let's try Watson. Watson. All right, so we're going to have Watson 2018 in here. I'm going to suppress the author. And then once it gets added, notice it automatically adds this to the list. And if I add something that would be in the middle, it puts it there. It reorganizes it the way that it needs to be, putting it in alphabetical order, exactly as it should appear. If you have, let's say, 2 articles by the same author with the same year, it will also add the suffix to it. So it might say 2018A, 2018B, 2018C. And it will do that automatically for you. You don't have to worry about it. These are also editable, although, like for instance, if I wanted to take out this DOI number. I don't need that since we have all the information here about the book. The DOI number is more needed if you don't have a volume, issue, or page range. Then I could delete that. And then later on, it's going to ask me if I want to keep the manual edits that I've made, and I just have to say yes. And that's the basics of how this works. So please make use of this. All right, so are you actually following APA? There are two resources that you should be aware of. One of them is the actual APA manual. You should have a copy of that. If you don't, I would highly suggest you go purchase one. The other one is the Purdue APA Online Writing Lab. This website is quite extensive and will give you a lot of really important information and examples about how to write things in APA. For most everyday purposes, this website will give you exactly what you need. It's when you run into some less common issues in how to cite things or how to address some specific things regarding tables or images and that kind of thing that you'll need the APA manual. APA, if you're not familiar with it, the APA style manual dictates how your paper should look, the formatting of text, heading levels, paragraphs, margins, tables, figures, everything, and what style you should use. For example, using italics for emphasis rather than underlining or bolding things. And you should become very familiar with APA if you're not already. I use these resources myself, so please make sure that you are following that. So let's say you've written a 30-page paper. Your paper's written, you realize you formatted it all wrong. Your level 1 headings should have been centered, black, bolded, Times New Roman 12-point font, title case. And you made them 14-point and blue because that's what was already set up in Word automatically. And you have 6 level 1 headings that you have to now find and fix each one of them separately. This would be a very frustrating thing, especially if level 1 is not the only thing that you had a problem with. Let's say your level 2 headings. Level 2 headings should be left justified, bold, black, Times New Roman 12-point font, title case. And you've made them 13 font and blue. And you have 10 of those that you have to find and fix. And then your level 3 headings should have been the first sentence of a paragraph, bolded, black, 12-point font, Times New Roman, sentence case ending with a period. And you made them all indented but not part of the paragraph. You have 5 level 3 headers you have to find and fix. Block quotes should be indented whole paragraph by 1/2 inch. And you indented them by 0.25 inches. And you have 6 of those block quotes that you have to find. Your paragraph should also be indented. And you didn't indent any of the paragraphs. And if you're indenting with the tab key, please stop. You should never do that, especially for things like this, where you have to hunt and find and make sure that everything is formatted correctly. You don't want to have to worry about it. And then, of course, the references in your reference list should be hanging text format, which over here, that's what they are. But if you have done them manually, entered your reference list, then you might not have done this. I've seen people use the spacebar or tab keys to make this look like this. Do not ever do that. Let a citation manager do it for you, or if you're going to enter it yourself, use the hanging text format, and I will show you what that looks like. All right. Never use tab or space to format things, okay? So let's go to Word styles. In Word, there are styles up here. You'll see them here. And if you click this little down arrow, you get further options. Word by default will make these look very different. And you have 2 options here. You can go to New from Template. And then there is a place to search all templates. And you can search for APA. And you'll find some. I created my own. These should work for the most part. They have some stuff already included in them. or you can create your own formatted version. But what you need to do is be able to check that things are set up correctly. If you right click on this style normal, normal is for paragraphs, normal paragraphs in the body text, things that aren't going to be headers of some kind, and click modify. When you do that, this little box opens up, and you should see here that it is Times New Roman, 12-point font. And left justified, and then click this little drop-down menu and go to paragraph. You want to verify all of these things for all of these, okay? You want the outline level to say body text. You want these to both be set to 0, the left and the right indentation. And for paragraphs that are APA format, the first line should be indented by 0.5 inches. Okay, so this will automatically indent your paragraphs for you. The before and after should be set to 0, and the line spacing should be set to double. Okay, and don't check this box that says don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. You should have a single line after each, between each paragraph. So don't check that. Okay. Then also you will want to check if you are doing this manually or not even. You'll want to check border. Sometimes the ones built by Word automatically have set a border. You want to make sure there is no border at all. So if you see this picture here, there's no border included. Okay, if there was, then it would look like this. You could have borders above and below, that kind of thing. Okay, you don't want to have any. All right. Heading 1. This is the major headings that you will include in your papers. Heading 1 should be Times New Roman, 12-point font. All of the headings for level 1, 2, and 3 should be bolded. This specific one, heading 1, is the only one that is centered. And then if you go to paragraph, you should see that left and right indentation are set to 0, and notice that the special is none. We do not want anything indented. It should be completely left, as far left as the margin will go. You don't want spacing before or after. You just click double, and this will ensure that after it there's an empty space. And then, of course, check the border. Make sure that there are no lines before or after the heading. Heading level 2. Heading level 2 should be left justified, bold, 12-point font, Times New Roman. Under paragraph, we already did heading 2, didn't we? I meant to click on heading 3. Okay, let's go to heading 3. Heading 3 is the one that's different. This should be the first part of a paragraph. I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. Heading 3 should be left justified, bold, Times New Roman, 12-point font. All the same kind of features, except since it's the first sentence of a paragraph, the first line should be indented by 0.5 inches. Still should be set to double, 0 for the left and right indentation, 0 for before and after. And this is what it might look like. So when you're ready to do a heading 1, a heading 2, and a heading 3. So let's say you are writing your paper, and heading 1 might be student statistical reasoning, let's say. This is because this is my own interest area. And then you have maybe a basic. So notice now that I clicked enter, we're on normal. This, when I click in it, it says heading 1. Under normal, it's already indented the page for me. So I might have some short introductory paragraph here. Then I'm ready for a level 2 heading. So I click level 2, and I might say the practice of statistics. No period, capital letters. And now I wrote this before I was actually using the document, and it's completely all the way to the left. That shouldn't be the case. To fix it, all I have to do is click somewhere inside the text and click on the normal style, and it fixes it to be double-spaced and indented like it should be. Now, when I'm ready to do a specific piece of this that is a level 3 is a subcategory of the practice of statistics. So first, I might say there's a specific topic about research questions. Then I go ahead and start the paragraph. You have to do it this way. You have to have the paragraph already started and have more text than just the part that's going to be the level 3 heading. So this part is going to be the level 3 heading. And what I do is I find the level 3 style up here. I highlight the piece that should be the heading level 3, and I click on it. And now it's a heading for level 3. And now I can have the paragraph going. And now I have level 1, level 2, level 3 headings. Okay. And let's say that I'm going to put in a big long quote. That long quote, if it is more than 40 characters, needs to be a block quote. Here is my block quote. Okay, I'm going to just, for the purposes of making this go faster, I'm going to make this kind of long so that you get the idea. So I've got a lot of text here, and it should be block quote, so it shouldn't be indented like this. The whole entire thing should be indented the same distance, so it shouldn't go all the way back to the left. It should just go to here. So there is a block text style here, and I want to show you what it should look like if you have to set it up yourself. Block text, 12-point font, Times New Roman, left justified. Under paragraph, you want to make sure that it says left by 0.5 inches. This is the only time that I can think of where you need to use this rather than using the special drop-down menu here. 0 here and here. And actually, now that I think about it, I have to go back and check. I think this should still be double-spaced, but check and make sure. I had set this up because I wanted it to be single-spaced here for something else. But double check that. 0 point before and after. That may need to be double. Once you do that, you can just click inside the piece that's the block text and click block text, and it fixes it. Okay. And then at the end, you put the reference. And the page number. Okay. And of course, use the Mendeley thing here to put that reference in so that it's included in your reference list and you don't have to worry about it. All right, so that's the basics of using word styles. And then last, what is plagiarism? Plagiarism, by the way, is very serious. It can get you expelled from school. It can also get you fired from your job. So let's say you're summarizing a paragraph from an article and you write something like this. According to Smith 2003, a typical issue with doctoral students is copying the text from an article without using quotation marks and a page number. Obviously, I'm making a point here. All quotations, when you're putting things, taking things directly word from word, or you need to put quotation marks. That one is perhaps pretty obvious, and you need to have a reference, just like here. Putting that reference in with a page number. So if you have a block quote, this can go for that or for a quote with quotation marks around it. A block quote doesn't get quotation marks, but it's indented like this to indicate that it is a quote. Otherwise, it needs quotation marks, and you have to put the page number here. All right. In Smith 2003 on page 5, it says, a typical issue with doctoral students is copying the text from an article without using quotation marks and a page number reference. All right, so I put this in here as an example because you might argue, well, I said what page it was on, and I said Smith 2003, and then it follows it. However, what it doesn't have is the quotation marks. Those have to be there. Otherwise, it could be inferred that this is a paraphrasing of what it said, rather than a direct quote. So if it's a paraphrase, then you can leave it like this. If it's a direct quote, add the quotation marks. Right. So you say, according to Smith, 2003, so it's okay, right? Wrong. What if Smith 2003 actually said this instead? One major problem doctoral students face is copying the text from a publication and not using quotation marks with a page number reference. The problem here is that this is still plagiarized, unless you put the page number and properly cite Smith 2003. This is really, really similar to this text up in the top, though, to what it would have been paraphrased as. So my suggestion would actually be just to say what it actually says word for word, rather than trying to summarize it by changing out about 3 or 4 words. You need to stay away from doing this kind of thing. So, how can you not plagiarize? First, don't attempt to summarize a single sentence. Like in that case, if you're just changing 3 or 4 or 5 words, that's when you get into this gray area of wondering, did I plagiarize? Did I not plagiarize? So my suggestion is to pull the relevant piece out to quote with quotation marks around it and embed it into a sentence with your own words. So don't have the quote as a standalone sentence with the whole entire sentence with quotation marks around it. You need to introduce that quote in the beginning of the sentence and then put in the quotation marks and use that to say something and make your point. Otherwise, it's just a standalone quote and the reader is tasked with the purpose of trying to figure out what that quote is supposed to be there for. If you want to summarize, then do it at least at the paragraph level. So read the paragraph and think, how could I summarize this in one sentence? If you can't do it without taking specific phrases exactly from the part you're summarizing, either use a direct quote for those parts or use a block quote if the entire part you are summarizing is really important. So you should ask yourself, how important is this for me to say? Can I say this in a different way and still be true to what the author was conveying? If you can, then you need to summarize it and at a bigger level. If you cannot, that's when you use a direct quote or a block quote. That's a direct quote. All right. Hopefully this helps. I'll be giving you feedback if you're still doing this kind of thing. But please pay attention to this. It's really important. And it's a skill that sometimes is hard to develop. So work on this. Okay. And that's all for now for this. Please let me know in Discord. You can use the general chat if you have more questions about this productivity resources stuff. Remember, don't buy an article. You can find it at some point. All right.